Hello, everyone. My name is Christine Terrence, and this is my presentation video about my research project, which I've titled International Teacher Retention in Public Schools, a Taiwanese Case Study. So let me give you a quick introduction to my project. And the first question, of course, is why did I choose to study this topic? When I was doing my initial research on the topic of teacher retention, especially international teacher retention, it seemed to be focused mostly on international schools. However, a lot of public schools also will recruit and try to retain international teachers. So I was interested by the fact that there didn't seem to be a lot of research, first of all, based on international teacher retention in Taiwan, but then any research at all based on international teacher retention in public schools. So I decided to combine those two topics because I also noticed that a lot of public education teachers, Taiwanese teachers, were very satisfied with their jobs and seemed to stay with them for a quite long time. I came up with two research questions. The first would be to find out whether known factors of international teacher retention were applicable to international teachers in Taiwan. And the second being, is the high rate of satisfaction among Taiwanese teachers also found in international teachers? So let me give you a quick introduction to my literature review. Of course, why do we even bother studying this topic? And it's because there's been significant research about the damage of teacher turnover and therefore the importance of teacher retention. Of course, if there are high rates of teacher turnover, we know that this has an impact on students' academic achievements. And also, we know that teacher turnover can affect long-term planning for the school. So teacher retention, high levels of teacher retention can lead to improved test performance on some of the assessments we've studied, like the TIMSS and the PISA. Okay. So after that, I decided to research common causes of international teacher turnover from the existing literature. So in the personal causes category, we have poor interpersonal relationships with colleagues. We had the influence of wanderlust, which always operates on me quite a bit, and personal circumstances or family emergencies. In terms of organizational causes, salary and benefits packages, dissatisfaction with that. Poor or unsupportive school leadership is a very big factor of international teacher turnover, and teachers feeling unable to contribute to or affect school policies. And finally, the cultural causes can be student demographics, the cost of living in the culture or feeling unsafe or unable to independently function in that culture, and being unprepared to adapt to a new culture. So here are some known factors of international teacher retention. First, personal causes. Demographic characteristics are a big predictor. So teacher age, degree obtained, and years of experience. Also, feelings of safety and high quality living conditions. Then we have organizational causes, which could be having mentorships programs for new teachers, having good school communication, organizational transparency, and a sense of a shared value or shared mission. A sense of security and comfort, a good orientation process, and good salary and benefits with professional development opportunities. Finally, cultural causes. This is making the teachers feel as if they are included in their host culture, or just being transparent about cultural concerns during the recruitment process. Now, let's get to the specifically Taiwanese aspect of teacher job satisfaction. In Taiwan, it's generally found that teachers have a more respected position in Taiwanese society. In Taiwan, teachers usually have a higher salary than the average college graduate, about 25% higher. And finally, they usually have fairly low stress in their jobs, as well as positive feedback from students and good support and cooperation from families and communities. Okay. But we also have to consider that there is some research about the challenges of international teacher job satisfaction in Taiwanese public education. First, that the class sizes in Taiwan might be a bit larger, and therefore behavioral management might be a bit more of a struggle. There's also the fact that international teachers in Taiwanese public schools have to work with a local teacher in the public school. So you're not on your own in your classroom, you are always working together with a partner. So maintaining and managing those relationships can be a bit of a challenge. Some of the participants spoken to in these studies also reported feelings of racist treatment by either their students or their co-teachers in the form of accent bias. And there was also some doubts from the local teacher side about whether international teachers were even necessary or effective. Okay, so let's go on to my methodology. I decided to conduct a survey, and I used a lot of the questions from Mancuso's 2011 survey. I administered this survey to the New Taipei City NEST program, that's Native English Speaking Teacher Program. I administered the survey over a two-week period. It was a Google Form survey, and out of a potential 33 respondents, I had 22 people respond to the survey. Now, as to the survey design itself, I made it in 3 main sections. The first was a demographic information section. The following section was about known factors of international teacher retention. And then the final section was known factors of Taiwanese teacher retention. All right, and here are the results. So, in terms of demographic data, many of the respondents in this program fall into the range that Mancuso pointed out as best for international teacher retention. Many respondents had been international teachers before. Very few participants identified as non-white, which means that the factors of racism may not be at play with those teachers as much as they were in some of the research that has come before. Most of the respondents were unmarried, and the majority of them were highly educated with either a master's degree or above. Now, factors that deal with international teacher retention, the first being relationships with their colleagues. In this case, the majority of teachers, over 85%, feel both personally and professionally respected by their colleagues. Next is support from administration. Overall, I would say that teachers feel supported by administration in matters of student discipline, collaboration, and teaching flexibility. In terms of living in Taiwan, this section was highly positive. The overwhelming majority of respondents feel happy, safe, and comfortable living in Taiwan. And satisfaction with salary, this was about a 50-50 split between teachers who are satisfied or highly satisfied with their salary and those who are neutral, dissatisfied, or strongly dissatisfied. In terms of Taiwanese teacher retention, it was split between people who agree or strongly agree that their job is not stressful versus those who are neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree. Respect from community. About 50% of respondents feel respected by parents and community. However, respect from students, this was a key factor, I think. Over 70% of respondents either agree or strongly agree that they feel respected by their students. My overall conclusions from this project. First, why international teachers would choose to stay in Taiwan. I found 4 factors that just had overwhelmingly positive correlations with teachers who are staying. The first being good relationships with their co-teachers. Next, good relationships with students. Third, flexibility in teaching methodology. And finally, Taiwan generally being a safe and comfortable living situation. So I think those were the 4 key factors that contribute overall to the best predictors of teacher retention in this study. Between 68.2% and 82.8% of teachers are planning on staying in their current school or with the NEST program for the following academic year. And now I want to do a little dive into why some of the undecided respondents may still be undecided. The first being poor relationships with administration. This is probably the biggest factor. 2 of 3 undecided respondents were either neutral, disagreed, or they strongly disagreed on many of the questions about feeling supported by their administration. The next would be feeling unsafe or unhappy living in Taiwan. And finally, there is one candidate, one of the 3 candidates who seems happy with the administration, their life in Taiwan, their salary, their respect from their co-teachers and their students. So in this case, their reasons for indecision are unclear. I'm not certain why they are undecided, but this could be an area for further research. And on that note, next steps. My suggestions for further research, of course, an expanded sample size. However, If it is administered in a similar form, I would recommend adding an additional question to allow teachers to itemize their reasons for staying or leaving. The next thing I would suggest is having some questions about Taiwan's COVID policies. In 2022, I think this is less likely because more of the world is open. You don't have to quarantine in as many places. However, Taiwan, I would say, is still a safer country. Finally, we could always supplement this survey data with targeted interviews. So that is a quick summary of my research project. I hope it has been interesting to go along on this journey with me. Thank you so much for listening. And let me share very quickly my references with you. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.